Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here with Jason Blaha Strength and Fitness, and today I want to chat with you guys and gals a little bit about how many reps should we do for muscle growth. This is a topic of great controversy, but if you guys will please click like down below, be greatly appreciated. If you're not subscribed or following, please do so, and if you will be kind enough to drop me a comment down below, please do so. I would appreciate it so much. All right, when it comes to this, opinions out there all over the place. We've seen lots of numerous studies that every rep range can cause muscle growth, right? We've seen studies where doing 3 reps causes as much muscle growth as 10 when volumes get similar. We've seen studies showing 20 reps can cause plenty of muscle growth. We see all these debates, and as long as proximity to failure is maintained and they're very hard work sets, every rep range seems to be able to cause muscle growth when effective rep volumes start getting equated. Again, reps that are very close to failure, those are effective reps. Muscle growth is similar. So I think a way to look at this is going to be to think about what makes sense. Like what's practical, okay? What's practical? All right, and a lot of it has to do with the exercise you're doing. Now, I'm someone who has obviously done very high and very low reps on some of the big movements. Look, I've had phases where I did sets of 15 to 20 on back squats after, doing a heavy single or a max. Okay, in fact, when my squat was the strongest you guys have ever seen it on camera, I was also over 30 pounds heavier than I am now. That was a factor. Let's keep in mind, a few years younger. Like when I hit like that 605 cambered bar, like I was doing sets of 20 as my back off work. Okay. So I have a lot of experience with different rep ranges, but I'm also a coach. And here's what I'm going to say. Think about what's practical. So realistically, do you guys really and truly want to do 15 and 20 rep sets on the squat? And the reason I say that, you have to think in terms of sustainability with that stuff. If we're not looking forward to or focused on really doing our training, okay, let's see where I'm about to go with that, it can be a problem. So if 20 rep squats are just too grueling for you, you're not going to sustain it. But we also can make the case for why we want to do some of our big lifts really heavy with lower reps. And I think that's a case to be made for hypertrophy. Okay, and I'm going to go over to that. But here's what I want people to think about. Think in terms of what's practical and what's pragmatic. Too many people are getting caught up in the, well, anything over 8 reps is useless, right? Or really, really low reps just beat you up. Okay, this is way too simplistic. Okay, and the reason I'm going to point that out with the 8 rep thing, I understand where people are coming from. I understand where some of these content creators and coaches are coming from with that. But realistically, they're like, well, it creates extra fatigue and you're just doing warm-up reps in there and it's creating fatigue that's hard to recover from. But it's not. It really isn't. Sorry, guys. Doing 15 rep sets, as long as you are not overtraining and trying to do 30 sets of muscle group, really and truly is not going to fatigue you. Okay, and I think we've lost the plot. I get it with a squat. Sure, 20 rep sets on a squat. People are over here talking about machines and curls. All right, you are not getting any real nervous system fatigue from that. The argument being, the nervous system fatigue, well, you would never do cardio then. Okay. And I'm not even going to address the nonsense of CNS fatigue from heavy lifting. That's non-existent. That's a silly myth that's not even based on reality. It's not true. Okay, higher reps do cause more CNS fatigue. Okay, that's a case, but so does cardio. I mean, technically, cardio does way more. Do we not do cardio? Come on, just stop. I do tons of cardio. I run 3 or 4 days a week, right? I do sled work after my lifting. And I'm almost 50 years old, so, and you still see me lifting heavy, strong, right? Doing reps of 315 there on the bench. Then, of course, there I'm doing like 12s with 235 after. But that's exactly the point. Right there, perfect example. Think about practicality. I just did like a triple with 315, then do 12 reps with 235 afterwards. You're doing the same workout. But think in terms of practicality, all right? It's not always easy or feasible for us to come in and do really high reps on the big movements, right? big structural exercises, a squat, a deadlift, a push press. You really want to rep those out all day? Are you going to stay motivated to do that? That's a lot of fatigue on the body. We start getting into cardiovascularly taxing. Now, you could do that if you're in good shape. If you're like me and you do plenty of running, you can do it. The question becomes why? Okay? It may not be practical. Okay? By that same token, what about some of your smaller movements? All right? Do you really want to do 4s and 5s on curls and skull crushers? Do you really think that's safe? So again, if we're talking about injuries, you know how hard it is to maintain a strict curl when you go that heavy? We start turning it into cheat curls real quick. Well, how do we eventually get bicep injuries? Cheat curls and stuff can injure your biceps. And if you're having to do so low reps that you're cheating with heavy weights, and I get it. I mean, cheat curls with higher reps are probably not going to hurt you. Probably. But injury risk, do you really want to do skull crushers and barbell curls, or again, an incline curl, preacher curl with really heavy weights with lower reps? Think about how many biceps get torn with preacher curls. So again, context of the practicality of the injury risk. Okay? So let's just be practical and say, hey, these exercises probably need to be 8+ reps. Okay? And has anyone ever not got good results? Again, have we seen plenty of people do 15s on a skull crusher and extension and do just fine? 10 to 15. Anybody ever not got pretty good results doing that? Come on. Does anyone really think, it's just going to be so fatigued? No, you're not going to create a bunch of metabolic fatigue that you're not going to recover from, guys. It's a tricep extension. Again, same thing with a calf raise. Come on. These exercises lend themselves to higher reps by their very nature from a safety and an effectiveness. Now, what about if you're going to do certain things? How about band work? So a lot of times we're doing band work for tendon health. There's going to be some hypertrophy. Most of your band exercises are going to be 20+. Okay? They can do a lot for tendons and other stuff. How about a reverse hyper? Okay, reverse hypers that we do for our lower back and everything, and it does build the low back and glutes. You really think you're going to do 5s on that? I mean, 10s is the bare minimum. But that exercise really lends itself to 20+, doesn't it? It's just practical. It makes a lot of sense. Right? A lot of these movements, it makes sense to do this. So this is what I would say. Look at an exercise and go, can you maintain good form on the exercise with the rep range you're doing? So be practical. Say, okay, I want to do this exercise. Right? Can I use good form? Like me right there, guys. I think I'm doing like 10 to 12 with that, with 110 on those extensions. Okay? I can't maintain good form or do them for 5s or 6s. It gets ugly real fast. If I start doing 20s, it feels like cardio. Like, come on. But we could. So again, it's practical. It's a practicality issue. Deadlift, you really want to do 10s? Come on. So then people say, for hypertrophy, what about those? Do we need those? Well, they work. The studies show triples build muscle just fine. It's been studied in the lab. Hey, but what about the neural drive? And I've seen guys like Christian Thibodeau point this out, my friend Christian Thibodeau, and he's got a master's in exercise science. He's pointed it out. In the long term, doing those really heavy, big movements, he goes, will translate into better performance. So again, we want to argue against the strength end, but the strength, particularly for a drug-free guy, natural bodybuilders are always really strong if they're jacked. Okay? So training those lower reps, doing some heavy lifting will absolutely translate into better neural drive and performance on even your other rep work over time. Well, that's going to potentially give you muscle growth also. So do we want to discount the strength and neural drive and the technique? So again, people will say, if all reps are equal, then couldn't we just do all low rep work and get really strong with all of it too? The answer is yes, up to a point, but how much of it do you really want to do? We can reach a case where that starts to beat you up, right? You're only going to do so much volume of really heavy work before your joints do take a beating. So again, we have to look at what's practical and stop and think about what makes sense and is practical for you on an exercise basis. The same thing. If your conditioning isn't good, you're not going to do high reps on those big movements. You can, and they'll work great, but you better be in shape. So again, it comes down to what's practical for you as an individual with the rep ranges. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.